Right, here we are in another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning, Bill.
We are on episode number 293, and the name of today's episode is How to Easily Build an All-Star Team in Creative Real Estate Organically. Ooh. Here is the description. Ever wonder why it is so hard to figure out how to apply creative real estate strategies successfully? So you know the right way or the wrong way to do what's needed and when? Or have you noticed when you are trying to figure out how to do something, it costs you too much time and you never get the flight off the runway, which leaves you with a work to success imbalance. And if your why is not strong enough, you might get real. You won't. I'll give that to you again. If your why is not strong enough, you won't get real about doing the uncomfortable. What if I told you today we're going to show you how to build an all-star team organically as you work in real estate, so you can not get stuck with what you don't know right now. And during this podcast, you can start to see there's a standard process of doing multiple deals consistently for desired growth. By the way, what we are going to cover today is going to be a major factor on how you can retire early and get your time and freedom back. Bold promises, but very easily delivered if you just listen now.
Well, you got me listening now.
Okay.
I don't know if it's too. I think I'm too late to retire early. Too late to early, but
yeah, there you go.
Hey, but you know what? I used to worry about how I could possibly do it. Now at least I have a way and it's working. So okay,
exactly.
we're getting there.
All right, just for some housekeeping purposes, there's a $500 link in your description. Go check it out. It's there waiting for you. Also, wherever you're listening to us or watching us, make sure you like us or subscribe to us so that when we pop on or pop off, you know that we're here and you can come see us or hear us whenever you wish. And of course, if you so desire, go leave us a review at flippinghousesforrookies.com. That is also where you can go for personal support tickets. I personally answer them every single day, a few times a day. So if you have any questions or desires or communications you would like to send to me, they come to me directly. So go ahead and do it there. It's at flippinghousesforrookies.com. All the links are up in the top right-hand side of the page.
Hey, Bill, that $500 link, does that cost $500 or is it worth $500?
It's free to them if they go get it.
Oh, I just wanted a second in case you scared somebody like $500 already. Click. No,
$500 value. Yes.
Wow. Okay, good.
All right, here we go. Start of podcast. First, Pete, I would like to say this is a sequel, a delayed sequel, but a sequel from podcast number 285, which was called Never Revealed Before, Shocking and Exciting Truth About Creative Real Estate Procrastination. And in that podcast, we stated, let me see if I get this straight. So we stated to the listeners how you can expand yourself and your efficacy.
There's a word for you,
right? And efficacy means the ability to produce and I don't know what my problem is here today. Your ability to produce and desire or intended result. So efficacy means ability to produce a desired or intended result.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So in podcast number 285, we stated you expand yourself and your efficacy through relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Results, not effort, is the name of the game. Results, not effort, is the name of the game. I know for a fact that you and I have a friend that worked for some like Hamilton Standards or something like that, or a big company like that, for 43 years. And he's retired now, and all he talks about is how many hours he puts in.
Mm-hmm.
He never talks about his results. He just talks about the amount of hours he puts in, which is what that means. Like if you get paid by the hour, then the amount of hours you put in is a good thing. But and what's the difference between an entrepreneur and the rest of the world is entrepreneurs look at results. Everybody else looks at something different.
Yeah, it's funny. They don't pay us for sitting around. I don't get it.
Yeah, exactly. So results, not effort, is the name of the game. And when trying to accomplish results, most of our listeners are asking themselves the wrong questions. Now, this is all a review of podcast number 284. So when our listeners are trying to accomplish results, most of our listeners are asking the wrong question, which is, how do I achieve this result?
Right.
And we explained in podcast 285, the correct question should be, who can help me achieve this goal?
Mm-hmm.
And by not having this one little mind shift, you're keeping your goals small so you can make them easier to accomplish on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Well, yeah.
So without any kind of relationships or any kind of help or people around you, your goals will be much smaller because you yourself have to do it all. More importantly, if you have something that you want, like a goal or a result or some product or service or something that you want to either deliver or get exchange for, or even like for example, calling sellers, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's portions of it that you don't need to do once you know how to do it. You got to do the first 50 or 100 phone calls so you're used to it, which could take just a couple weeks if you're tenacious about it, right? But my point is when you're trying to accomplish results and you're asking yourself, how do I achieve this result? This is the paralysis of analysis person. This is the person that's been trying to do real estate for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and hasn't bought a deal yet.
Mm-hmm.
What they're trying to do is they're trying to figure out how to achieve that result. They're trying to figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of trying to figure out who can help them. Now watch this.
See, that's where I got it right.
Okay.
I'm at my first 3-day real estate seminar in the state for me and the wife. I looked there and said, like, who should we call? Let's call Bill.
And here we are.
So now, I knew back then, Bill.
There you go.
Who the hell?
All right. So the rule, the law, the hammer down, if you don't get anything out of this podcast, get these 2 sentences. The first sentence is, finding someone who can do it creates results.
Mm-hmm.
Second sentence, wondering how to do it creates problems. Like I just went through this myself because we use REI Reply as our CRM, as our customer relationship management tool.
Yeah.
And I had this new idea with making videos, and I spent like 3 or 4 days trying to figure out how to make it work. Yeah. And I spoke to Sean and I spent 5 hours with my coach trying to get it to work. Total waste of my time. I still busted the law, and Sean fixed it in like 30 minutes. One of my partners.
Yeah.
Okay. So instead of find someone who can do it creates results. Wondering how to do it. Wondering how to do it creates problems.
Yeah.
Right. Which brings me to today's podcast question. What who's do we need around us to actually get results so we can get paid handsomely and get our time freed up to live the way we want?
Good question.
So we talked about asking for who can do it, but what is it? Who
Yeah.
can do it? What
What,
is it?
who's, for which things? Yeah.
Right. So if we're going to build a creative real estate business, what do we need to? I mean, what is it? Like who we're going to get a who to do it or get the result. What are the results that we're looking for? Obviously, everybody wants money, freedom, and retirement. Right? Money now, money monthly, money later. But so who does what?
Sure.
And how does it all fit together? Now, I just want to take 1 minute and explain the masterness of this. Okay. Because, and by the way, this is from the book called Who Not How from Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy. This is not a Bill Hawthorn type of thing. I mean, I've taken it way above and beyond what they've written in our podcast, but that's a great book if you want to go read it. Okay. But more to the point is, let me think for a second. If I wanted to go get somebody to do SEO marketing for me, search engine optimization, which means showing up in Google organically, why would I want to learn the whole business just to get one ranking?
Right.
If I break my leg and I go to the doctor, why would I want to get a 6-year degree just to fix my knee?
Yeah, that's my example. I think if somebody has a health problem, you don't figure out how to fix it. You just call somebody who knows, and that can be like who, which doctor, where,
Which doctor? Oh, I like that.
Yeah. Well, if you have to, they might have something up their sleeve. The good old witch doctor. Yeah, but that people know that one, but it applies a lot of places, And I think you're saying that the people with paralysis of analysis are sitting by themselves behind the computer, pushing buttons and looking around,
trying to figure out how to
on
do
their
it.
own.
All how does so like, for example, with the example I was just giving you, I was trying to figure out this software, and what it was Zapier links. If anybody understands that, but it's Zapier links, and I was trying to connect two pieces of software together with an API link, right? So, and I know how to do that to some degree, but not to the degree that I needed to. It had to do with triggers and and it had to do with tags and one software and another software, and it was like I spent so here's what happens. So if I want to know how to do that, the problem was I got to go figure that out now. So it makes more work for me because I don't know how to do that. So the problem comes, I don't know how to do that. So now I got to figure it out.
Yeah, that annoys me. That's the thing. Me, computers, I'm much better than I used to be. But who wants to spend time just getting off the ground when you're trying to work?
Right.
You can't get going because you don't know how to do something. And you're sitting there with doodly daddly things instead of working and getting something done. That's way annoying. I know it hits you sometimes because you're always at the edge trying to, go into some new territories and you're looking at that. But it's good to have, you got your coach, you got Sean who's good at that. You need that type of thing.
So here's the thing. I'm going to give one more example, and then I'm going to make my punchline and move on.
Yep.
So my wife, God bless her, is turning 60. And I'm having a 60th party for her. Not a surprise party, just a 60th party.
Yeah.
So just think of it this way. Suppose I had a band. So that's my who, is the band. But what happens if I said, how do I play music? Then I would have to go learn music and learn how to be a band and learn how to play the music. Or how about a cook? If I didn't hire a cook, like the cook would be a who on giving us food, right?
Yeah, you know how to cook, Bill. You can cook. It'll only take you like about 2 days to do that. Go ahead.
So, and then I got to get the hall. Then I got to decorate the hall. Then I got to clean up. You see what I mean? So everything that I try, like everything that is a how do I do this? How do I get music? How do I get food? How do I get the decorations? Just makes more work. It's just more problems. Instead of saying who could cook, right? Who could play music, right? Now here's the organic part. Doesn't mean that you have to pay people to do this. Like, for example, on my birthday party, like who in my family can help me cook? Like, for example, my sister-in-law's husband owns restaurants. right? And this is not what we're going to do, but you play music.
Mm-hmm.
So you could help me with the music. So it's not even that it would cost you money always. It's just who could do it. And the way to think of this is who has that skill set that likes to do those things. I remember when I first started teaching real estate, I used to talk about hiring an assistant, which I still have. So a lot of times I would get asked, what is the assistant's job description?
Mm-hmm.
I had a very crude answer as usual. Right? So here's what you would do. You would write all the things that you don't like to do on a piece of paper, known as your shit list. All the shit that I don't like to do,
I
right?
remember that was funny.
Yeah.
But it's true.
And that becomes your assistant's job. Now, to prove your point, my youngest daughter, Emma, who worked for me for 5 or 6 years, still works for me, but is in the back. I mean, works less hours now but she worked for me full time. She loved doing all that stuff that I hated doing. Answering emails and, checking stats and, all these things that I hated to do. She loved doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody has a different mindset, a different skill set, a different thing that tickles them inside they like to do, right? So what you're doing is you're aligning all these skills to one goal. It's like you're putting a parade together, right? And you need to have you need to have the marching band, and you need to have the veterans, and you need to have the firemen, and you need to have the policemen, all in the parade. And who goes first and who goes second? And here's the theme. So make sure you do this. That's what you're doing. But the firemen like being firemen, and the police like being police, and the veterans like marching in parades, and the school band likes playing their, you see what I mean? Everybody's different. I would never.
And they're good at it.
I would never want to carry one of those drums, boom, 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 right? They're like the school kids do, but they like it.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I might want to follow the cheerleaders. Now, that might be a good part. But
I was waiting for that. The girls with the white boots and the fringes and the batons. Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
Now we're talking. That's why they lead the parade.
Now we're being a bunch of old, dirty men.
Hey, it's okay. It's okay. You got Bill. What you say to people is, no, it's okay. I'm a grandfather.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that makes it worse, Peter. Just stop talking. All right. So here's the good news. The good news is there's only 7 main categories to create in any activity to make it successful. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to list the 7 first, and then we're going to tap on each one of them a little bit before we leave.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm going to list them first. So number 1, you need someone with the idea and the focus on the future. Right? Where are we going? What are we going to do? And how are we going to get there? And oh yeah, by the way, how are we going to measure it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that we have found, and we talked about this in one of the recent podcasts, is how entrepreneurs measure things. Are you measuring where you're at and what you did up against what you want? Or are you measuring up against what you did do?
Right.
So somebody like me always measures up against what I want. Well, we had 10 people contact us today. Yeah, but we need 20 people to make it viable. Instead of taking the win on that we went from 0 to 10. I'm always, we need 10 more. And it always made it difficult for people to be around me at work. Now that I realize they do that, I don't do that anymore. But the point is how we measure. Yeah. So number 1 is someone with the idea and focus on the future. Number 2, someone who keeps track of all the communication going in and going out of the group. Right? And not a machine. This is not a machine. This is like 2-way communications with actual people.
Right.
Okay, so it's like concerns and all that. And you're going to be very surprised when you hear me describe these in a little while, because a lot of this we've worked on already, and I don't know if you personally have realized this.
Well, I was wondering what the 7 would be. Then when you started talking, I think I know where he's going. So go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm digging it. Then we'll get some details in a minute.
So 3. So number 1 is the idea. Number 2 is someone who keeps track of all the communication in and out of the group, right?
Yeah.
Number 2 is. Number 3 is someone who does the marketing and sales for the group.
Yeah.
Now, why are marketing and sales put together? I'm going to tell you that. It's for a reason. because really sales are really the punchline. If the marketing's done right, sales is real easy.
Yeah.
Okay. So number 4 is someone to handle and keep track of the finances so the group always stays viable and safe in the future. Number 5, this is the person in charge of all the technical production. This is the meat and potatoes section of getting results.
Like all the activities you're in.
Yeah, and I'm gonna explain all this in a minute. So I know that this is, anyways,
That's fine.
the explanations are a lot better.
Okay.
So number 6, this is the person. This person is where quality assurance and correction is made. So the problems don't end up with the client that becomes unhappy because they got something delivered incorrectly.
Right.
And number 7, this person is who handles this distribution to the right client and why the client feel and so I want to back up for a second. So it's distribution. They handle distribution. In other words, the rest of the group put together this product and now they're delivering it. That's not a deliverable. It has to be in the right hands of the person that wants it, so there's exchange. Right? So you don't want to make a bottle of water, right? And not have anybody that wants a bottle of water and then end up with a factory full of bottles of water, right?
Yeah.
No, you have to have somebody that's thirsty and wants it in a bottle and will drink water.
Okay.
Right? So number 7 is the person who handles distribution to the right client the way the client feels exchange is abundant or minimally fair exchange to be adequate. Okay. Before we cover these in short description, realize this. Whether you are a one-man band or 100-person group, these seven actions are done in every deal.
Yeah.
One way or another. Okay. And if you realize what I'm saying here, if you need to figure out how to do each of these 7, your runway to success is overwhelming. And at this particular point, I've delivered enough of the podcast that we can end. This is the reason why it takes, and this is what I'm trying to fix, because I just recently did a survey to be astonished by how many people that listen to us or are in my email group or part of my coaching or my monthly mastery that have been doing this for years and never did a deal. I did my deal hunting monthly mastery last night, and I showed a tool. I made it so simple. I showed a tool that can actually scrape Zillow for free. Sean figured it out. And the point is that why not go grab a couple hundred for sale by owners or foreclosure leads or people that are renting properties on Zillow. You can scrape Zillow for free. And then we skip trace them for like $22. So I think we had 143 names on our list for $22. We put them in Text Magic, and we're in business. We're in business. And when we got done with the call, I went around the room and I was like, what'd you get out of it? And they're like, Bill, I have to do this. I've not done anything in 2 years, and you made this so easy. I just have to do this because you're right. It's too simple. It's like literally an hour and a half's worth of work, and then you get 143 names. And if you texted 25 people a day, that's a couple weeks worth of texting. You're going to find something if you do that.
Well, if you don't do something like that, what are you doing?
Right.
We have a system we're using now, and I've never been so busy talking to people. I can't keep up. If I didn't have that, what I would be doing? Putting out a sign, looking at somebody and calling them on, I don't know, Craigslist. I don't know. Facebook, you don't get names, and you just be sitting and waiting, and then going to another podcast. You need something to do, and that sounds great.
So here's what we've done and I need to change these names because I keep changing them. What I want to call my coaching group, I was calling it the apprenticeship program. It's the internship. It's actually an internship, right? So the coaching group is like an internship. And what does an internship mean? It means you're taken under the wing and you're showed how to do it. I read this book, Who, Not How, and I realized that's exactly what we need to do. So I each week have coaching clients that do different roles. They do texting, they do opening calls, they do closing calls, just enough so they know what has to be done so they can go hire somebody themselves or find someone themselves. Now, here's the interesting thing is certain coaching clients get stuck. Like they'll stay on texting for 3 or 4 weeks because they know how to do it and they feel good with it.
Oh.
Other coaching clients stay on the opening call and the closing call, and there's another an admin person. So I realized that this is where these people like to be.
You know what they call that? There was a book years ago called The Peter Principle. It had nothing to do with me. I don't know what they even call it. Maybe the guy who wrote the book was that in a company, like you move up the ladder,
yeah,
get better position, and you stay at the one. Well, in his case, he said you stay at the one that you can't do because you won't get a promotion, but they won't fire you either. They just leave you, leave them there. But in our case, it's like the person's actually good at that and maybe don't want to go to the next one because maybe they don't know how to do it.
Right.
So they stay at the one they're comfortable. But at some point when they're really, really comfortable, if you can text to people, like Mary, my wife, does not want to talk to people. She's not want to do that. But she's texting to people. And after a few months, I think if somebody asked her a question, she'd have the right answer.
Right.
Live. And she doesn't realize it probably. But you get so good at one step, the next step kind of appears.
Exactly.
Or at least you just feel like trying it, I think I can do it now.
But here's the point is if you find someone that knows how to do that, and this is what's happened to me, when you find the people who know how to do it and they're close to you and they start working with you, you start seeing what they're doing. You're like, oh, what did he just do? What did she just do? And you start getting an education too. And by virtue of them doing it around you or in front of you or for you, you'll learn how to do it.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting too.
It's an incredible thing because, anyways, let's carry on.
Well, that's a little bit like teachers learn from students. I mean, I know you've picked up things from coaching students. I've picked up things from my music students. I pick up things in real estate from everybody, one way or the other. Because we're together and ideas are going. If you do something long enough, you're going to learn something.
Right.
If you make calls long enough, you're going to pick up some ideas, even by accident. You pass it along.
Exactly right. So you need to find a who that likes doing each of these tasks that we're going to cover. Now, here's the trick. You need to let them own the how, but you must give them complete permission to do so.
Yeah.
Right? Like I know, for example, I have partners, and I know Sean's, well, there's some things that he's doing right now that I'm not crazy about, but I need to give him permission to do it. Let him try it.
Yeah.
See what happens. Right?
Sure.
All right, here we go. You ready? Number 1, having the ideas and focusing on the future is the most, in most cases, is the owner or you.
Yeah.
So this is kind of self-explanatory. But I will put a side note here, and I will tell you at 58 years old, I had to really learn this lesson the hard way. And believe it or not, COVID did it for me. If you have too many distractions in your life, I call it noise. Too many problems or actually what it is, not your problem, somebody else's problem. They're trying to make it your problem. Right? Like, for example, this is a harsh example, but my wife's dad has Alzheimer's, and he's like in the hospital, and he's like in a nursing home, and she just had to go to Texas for 3 days, and it cost us like $1,000. Right? Now, here's the thing. He was totally fine. he was no different than when she was there a couple months ago. But his wife, my wife's stepmom, was freaked out because some doctor told her something, and she actually has an upset because we didn't come to see her last July, and she's got this whole thing manufactured in her head about how she's not, the kids are not good kids because they didn't come see their father, and she's just trying to be right.
Mm-hmm.
So she manufactured this false story about how he's not doing well, and the doctor came in and said, you better call the kids because his time is up, and all this kind of stuff. And it wasn't true. So now this is not disrespectful. That noise of my wife going to Texas and paying for the tickets and looking for airplane tickets and then taking her to the airport, picking her up from the airport, being gone for 2 days, helping her pack. Think of all that distraction in my life. That one thing.
Yeah.
Now, it's very legitimate, and I'm not saying I shouldn't do that, but how much of that is in your life? How many people have problems that they're trying to get you to help them with? More importantly, as an executive, think of this. How many things do you need to get done that have non-compliance? They either don't get done or they don't get done correctly. I mean, most of us have had kids. So you tell your kids to take the garbage out. So A, did they take the garbage out? Or B, did they take the garbage out the wrong way? Like, for example, they put the garbage in the recycling bin.
Yep.
Right? So how much of that stuff gets in your way in life?
Mm-hmm.
You know, the kid's teacher sends home a note saying that, all of a sudden you got to make cupcakes. You know, I mean, I'm being stupid with my answers because but
Bill, it's not stupid because everything that happens is stupid. It's stuff like, why do I have to waste my time doing this? Right. And you get to the end of the day and you think, well, what an idiot I am. I spent maybe an hour doing what I'm supposed to be doing in the whole day. And people think I have all this time on my hands, right?
Right.
Even if you have a job, well, don't you have all night or all weekend? No, you don't.
It's 168 hours in a week and you work 40. So you do the math.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now let's take one to the extreme and then I'm going to move on because there's a very important reason why I'm sticking on this.
Yeah.
Gas prices are going to be $4 this week in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
That's up from $2.
Mm-hmm.
I don't buy milk, but a gallon of milk is probably $4 instead of $2, or $6 instead of $3. A pizza is not $12 now. Now it's $18. Okay, so here's what happens: you have a certain amount of income, and it was sufficient before, or close to, and you were getting by. Now all of a sudden things are creeping up, and the gas, instead of being $20 went to $30, or instead of being $40 went to $50, or instead of $50 went to $70, whatever it may be, right? And you're trying now. All of a sudden, your attention goes on. How can I save? Where can I cut? Because it's either I make my income go up or I cut my expenses.
That's right.
Think of how much attention you have to give that to survive, because of the suppression of this country, because of a lot of things, but because of suppression, because we cut off our pipelines, and because we're not drilling oil ourselves or fracking ourselves, we're buying from other countries that are now at war, and so oil prices are $110 a barrel right now.
Yep.
Think of that distraction. Now, here's the point that I make, so that means that everybody has, even me, everybody has distraction. It's hard not to.
Yeah.
Right? Now, watch this. Number one is having ideas and focus on the future is most often the owner or you. How much free time, how much free space do you have in your head where you could just cleanly look at things without having the emotions attached to them, or having all the noise attached to them, where you could just let your mind wander? And I'm going to tell you, Peter, I would not hammer this so much if it hadn't been for COVID. Because I told you I went, well, because I was in Florida when COVID happened in March, and I went to Florida for 6 weeks and lived with my sister. And because I stepped out of my life for 6 weeks or 7 weeks, and I had to manage my life for 1,500 miles away, I realized what was noise and what wasn't, and I knocked a lot of it out. And I could not believe what used to take me an hour and a half would take me 15 minutes to do. I thought there was something wrong with me. But it was like laser focused. Something that would take me, like I'd get ready to write the podcast. It would take me 3 or 4 hours. I was doing it in an hour.
Yeah.
And I would wake up and I would know, like right now, I already know what I'm going to write for next week. Right. Sometimes I would write a week in advance.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're in that state of mind, in that fresh, clean state of mind, that's the best thing you could do for you and your family, is to have that clean thinking. By the way, reading helps because you get other perspectives, other ideas, other viewpoints of where you want to go and what you want to do. I mean, if I wanted to go race a motorcycle right now, a dirt bike, I wouldn't know what that meant. I'd have to get viewpoints of what it's like. What is it like after the race? What are the statistics? What kind of motorcycle do I need? How, what kind of engine? So reading gives you those ideas to be in the future.
Sure.
So the more you read, the more you can relax. The more you can relax, the more you can make decisions. So I know I hammered that to death, but number 1 is the most important. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, keeping track of the communication. So in our REI Reply system, which is our CRM, our customer relation management tool, where we keep track of all our leads, and that's where all our marketing campaigns are, and that's what Peter's talking about, where he has too many leads to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
In the coaching group, we call this person the admin secretary. Not secretary like a girl with a skirt on. It's just a secretary, meaning a person in charge of.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the admin secretary keeps track of these jobs. Now watch this. This admin secretary job is to make sure nothing falls between the cracks, like appointments being missed or paperwork stalls or inspections not being done. So the opening caller passes off the lead to the closing caller, and a day later the closing caller hasn't called them.
Mm-hmm.
It loses continuity. It loses pace. It makes it look like to the client that we're not interested.
Yeah. Call you right back.
Yeah.
Crickets. Yeah.
So the promises aren't handled. So the number 2 is keeping track of all the communications is very important because it gives you continuity between all these 7 steps.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's very huge. We call them, like I said, in our system, the admin secretary, which is, again, the person that goes and makes sure that promises are being kept.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The paperwork was delivered, and vice versa. Like, for example, I could send an option agreement. Like you just had this happen with your guy Kaz or whatever his Cosmo, whatever his name was, right?
Sure.
So we send him a document in DocuSign, and it's not signed. So 2 days later or 3 days later, the admin secretary would say, "Hey, Pete, Cosmo didn't sign that document. You need to call him."
Mm-hmm.
So it goes both ways. So this person is very important.
It's funny to me. The first person is the ideas guy, right?
Yeah.
Communication is the exchange of ideas. That's what communication is. So the first guy gets some ideas what should happen. And in the second step, those ideas are flying around.
Yeah.
And they better fly around correctly and quickly and properly so that what he's thinking happens.
Exactly.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yep.
That's what communication is. They're completely connected. It's not like this other thing.
Yep. Well, this is also organically how it's going to flow too. This is how a business is going to flow. Any business is like this, right? Mm-hmm. So number 3. This is marketing and sales, which for most is a confusing subject. But to make it simple, The marketing should do most of the heavy lifting by answering common questions and showing what we do so this doesn't fail in a sales fall in the salesman's lap. Right now, very often I have spouted, here is the 4-step magic formula. 1, find and communicate to a motivated seller. 2, tell them what you do, which is we buy houses with monthly payments until we pay you off or give you or get a discount. Number 3, we ask you what's needed and wanted with the question, what would have to happen for me to buy a house today? Number 4, you then you fulfill that what they want with one of my 7 strategies.
Right.
So that's the sales and marketing cycle right there. Right? So you find and communicate, and then you tell them. So marketing tells them, this is what we do. Here's how we do it. And if they're interesting, they go to the sales part, which is discovery. Find out what's needed and wanted. And okay, well, if that's what you want, here's what we can do. That is the marketing and sales strategy right there. That's the entire system right there.
Good one.
Right? So again, marketing is 1, find and communicate to a motivated seller. Number 2, tell them, hey, we take monthly payments until we can pay you off or take a small discount. Right? However you say that's the intention. Once somebody raises their hand and say, I'm interested in that, then the first thing that happens is you go into sales and you say, oh, what would have to happen for us to buy your house today? And they say, well, blah, 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 blah. Okay, and you look at one of the 7 core strategies that we talk about here on Bill's Planet, and you say, which one will work? And you deliver that message to them. Is this making sense?
Absolutely.
So in my coaching group, or as we're going to call it, the internship, because this is the 3rd time I've changed the name, I do a lot of this with help from my partners like Sean and you and my coaching clients who are the Who's. But the interesting thing about this is that in the coaching group, I do all the marketing. I do all the sales. I do the marketing via our list, and I set up all the campaigns. The opening call and the closing call are done with scripts. So it's me doing the sales cycle through you.
Yep.
And we teach you how to do this. And by the way, I want to pause for a second because my buddy Jay taught me this.
Really?
by accident.
Yeah.
By accident. This was, by the way, after a nice meal, smoking a healthy cigar.
Oh, very good.
So, like I said, you have to have your moments of silence so you can think. Okay? He said, let me get it straight. Well, I'm just gonna explain it the way I know it. Certainty is the amount of times over and over. The amount of times you do something.
Right.
That's certainty. So the more you do it, the more certain you are. The more you drive a car, the more you swim, the more you have sex, the more you eat, the more you whatever. I don't care what it is. The more you do it, the more certainty you have.
Yeah.
So if you don't have certainty, what does that mean?
You haven't done it enough.
Exactly. So the scripts, and this is the internship with my coaching clients, is because they're there doing it over and over and over again. And when they get certain enough that they can go on their own, they buy their own REI replay system. We take all of our stuff and put it in their system, and they're ready to go. But this is a perfect place for them to do it in a safe environment, not get hurt. If they fall down and scrape their knee, I'm right there to help them. If they fall off the bike, I'm right there to pick them up. And oh yeah, by the way, we're working with live customers, my customers.
Yeah, it's for real.
The marketing is done by me. The scripts are done by me. And I'm there in a WhatsApp group, on the phone, every Monday night for 2 or 3 hours helping these guys, holding their hands until they can get their certainty.
Bill's going to call it rehearsal, but I'm going to call it dress rehearsal.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really close because, I know rehearsal for performing wise. You want to be ready to go. And
Right.
This must be why people just spend the 2-3 years thinking about it and not pulling the trigger, because there's too many things they're just not certain of. And there's like all these steps. They don't know any one of them really well. There's too many in front of them. They get scared.
No. I want to correct you.
Go ahead.
I want to correct you. This is the point of today's podcast.
Yeah.
The uncertainty is them learning how to do it.
Yeah.
That's where the uncertainty is. They should know, I'm uncertain. I should find out who can help me with this.
Right.
So the uncertainty should be who, not how.
Yeah.
Like in my coaching group, the who is me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he can help me with this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, I had last night, I think it was last night, or was it Monday night? I was blown away. I got the best compliments. It happened to 3 people said it. 3 people. Bill, I have done more with you in the last 2 months than I've done in the last 8 years.
Yeah.
The other guy said, I've done more with you in the last 3 months than I've done in the last 3 years. The other guy said, I've done more with you in the last 2 months than I've done in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay. That's because of the way it's set up.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because all of these things. There's a reason why I put in the bottom of my emails nowadays, Bill Hawthorn, real estate millionaire maker. There's a reason for it.
Yeah.
Because if you start doing 1 or 2 deals, 3 deals, 4 deals after a year, 2 years, we did that a couple podcasts ago, right? We did the math. And within a couple of years, you could be a multimillionaire. Definitely within 5 years, if you don't work very hard, you could retire. Definitely. Mm-hmm. Not even thinking about it. That's a guarantee. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on to number 4.
Yep.
Handle and keep track of finances is not just record keeping of money in and money out stuff, but it also covers assets, like the amount of houses you have, and tax documents. We went over that last week, like just the bookkeeping. For example, I had a property. I had 3 properties. I did a deal this year or last year in COVID, right? I had three multifamily houses that I lease optioned. I sold one of them and bought the other 2. It was a $376,000 profit for me. Now here's the magic. Because of the bookkeeping, I didn't pay any taxes. I made $376,000 and didn't pay taxes. And the government was happy to give that to me. I didn't do anything illegal. I just did what they allowed me to do.
Yeah.
Now, here's the point that I want to make. Because of we're doing my taxes now, I had a lease with an option to buy. I put in the options, both options, because I had 2 options, one for the 3 family and one for the 2 families.
Mm-hmm.
I put in the option that every payment that I make, I get principal reduction. That resulted for me in a $48,000 profit for that 1 sentence on each lease option document.
Mm-hmm.
Now, wait a minute. That sounds spectacular. That's part of my $376,000. That's spectacular. I put 1 sentence in an option agreement, and I'm going to get support tickets. What was the sentence? But the point is, I put that 1 sentence in there so I can get principal reduction, and I made $48,000. It's not over yet, Peter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with my accountant, and I called him. I'm like, you know what? The bank sent you the interest that we paid on those 2 loans last year. You didn't send them to me. Could you send them to me? I've got almost $12,000 in interest that I paid on those 3 properties that I could claim because of how my position. So there's $12,000 that just came off my income. This is because of bookkeeping. If you're too busy thinking about money now, money monthly, money later, you're missing the pot at the end of the rainbow. And we talked about that the last 2 podcasts. We talked about that in 291 and 292.
Yeah.
Great extent. So much so that I think it fired me up. I might even write a book about it. We'll see what happens. The point is that that number 4, handling and keeping track of the finances, is not just keeping track of the money in and the money out, but it also covers assets and tax documents. Plus, it has a huge hand in funding the deals.
How's that?
Along with the renovation and the ROI. So the way you fund your deals, like for example, suppose you have to go to a bank, which we don't do. How's the paperwork set up? How's the credit look? How the payments look? How about all the financial statements? Right? A lot of people talk about what's his name? Sean, no, give me a second. Bigger Pockets.
Yeah.
Ted Turner or whatever his name. I forgot. Ted. It's not Ted Turner, but I forgot his name. I know Sean talks about him all the time. The Burr strategy.
Mm-hmm.
So you buy something, you live in it, you hold it, you refinance it, do another one. It to me is the stupidest thing in the world, because why would you want to put your name in guaranteed debt? If you had gone through 2008 and 2009, you would know that over leveraging yourself by guaranteeing debt is a mistake. It's a mistake. Now, if you want to move slow, now I can't say that because there's probably millions of people that made a lot of money doing that. So I'm the unusual. I get that, but there is a lot better way to do it.
Yeah.
A lot safer way, right? This is the reason why my listeners are afraid to do deals, is because people like that are telling them, "Oh, go get a loan," and they got to guarantee the loan. So when things go sour, they come after you. And not only do they take the property, but they take other assets too, if it's not enough. And they infect your life and ruin you, right? Because banks are not good people, right? So this can't be done without good finances in order, along with knowing the math of the deal, the ROI. So how much is this really going to cost us? So this is all important with the person that's going to keep track of the finances, because the group does not need to over leverage themselves so that it causes collapse. There's certain monies and certain responsibilities and certain obligations you want and certain you don't want. And if you don't wear that hat, or like a hat, like a fireman wears a hat, and when he wears that hat, he has certain duties, and a policeman wears a hat, he's got certain. When a cook wears a hat, he's got certain duties, right?
He's got the job. Yeah.
He's got the job, right? So here, when you're wearing the finance hat, you have specific roles and specific duties and specific responsibilities for the group. That group could just be you and your family. Right?
I just got a note. I got an email back from our accountant to me, and I was expecting I might have to pay like a lot of thousands. I'm getting a refund.
No way.
I don't know what to think. Bookkeeper's on the way with a file of a few more documents for the other business and some of your stuff. I got a refund. I don't know. I'm kind of happy today.
Gee, I wonder why that happened after I sat with him. All right. So does that make sense? So finances are not just money in, money out. Finances are a huge thing. And in reality, Pete, if I had my way, which I will not, because it's like going against the tide. We are not in the real estate business. We're in the marketing and the finance business.
Now you used to say marketing. Now it's marketing and finance.
Right. So my point is that the finance business is the paperwork we use.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's the paperwork we use. It's
all the paperwork, but you're including money now, monthly money monthly, money later, and money keep it.
Right. Money keep it. Yeah. Right.
That's the last new one. Money keep it.
The way you do the transactions makes a difference on your tax benefits, on your appreciation, your depreciation. It makes a difference on your ROI. It makes a difference on a lot of things. Like, for example, when I wrote the contracts for this deal I was telling you about, I made $48,000 by adding one sentence to 2 documents.
Yeah.
That was a finance thing. Number 5, the technical production. Here is the main problem with most rookies, and definitely with procrastination. Here's why. First of all, most don't realize there's a right way or a standard way to do anything.
Yeah.
So to drive a car, there's a standard way to do it. There's only one right way. Right? To bake a cake, there's only one right way.
It's called a recipe.
Exactly. Right? So most don't realize that there's a right way or a standard way to do anything. They don't have that viewpoint. So they're too busy willy-nilly and looking around for something else when they don't realize and because, let me back up, and not asking for that instead of looking for the misunderstanding of the standard process is the gross downfall for most. So if you don't have this viewpoint that this is the right way and it doesn't work for me, what did I do wrong? Because this is the right way. This is the standard way to do it. Instead of saying, what did I do wrong, or what did I misunderstand, or how did I confuse it, or what am I doing wrong? Instead, they're like, well, this doesn't work, so Bill must be wrong. They don't have the idea that there's a standard way to do it. How do you think you do hundreds of deals? You think you do it different each time? Right? And more importantly, somebody that's trying to learn my system, the way they're doing it, can they make a living with it? That's what I look at. So somebody comes to me and says, this is what I'm doing. My first question is, can you make a living with that? Well, no, I haven't done a deal yet. Oh, okay. Or
how's that working for you?
I've only done it 4 times. I've only done it 10 times. I've only done it 20 times. Right?
Yep.
So the standard way means step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. And that's okay, because a lot of people are looking for that, but they don't put in their head, this is the standard. And I need to duplicate or understand that standard and know that when I'm not getting a product. You said this the other day on the coaching call, right? We're talking about a deal, right? And I'm asking everybody, how can we structure this deal? And you came about and said, guys, what are we doing here? Let's just go back to the basics. Let's look at the loan to value ratio. They're not willing to do getting the deed. They're not willing to do the rent to own. So the next one up is an option agreement. That's what we should do, which is exactly where I was.
All right. And I just saw people were thinking and thinking and thinking. I was too for a while.
Yeah.
And you said something about, well, wait a minute, let's just do the list.
Right.
I hate thinking in my head. I'd rather have a list. You do A, B, C, D. Pick one. It's right there in front of you, one of them. And it's just right there. You're trained to do it.
It's mathematical and it's a standard.
Yeah, you don't have to reinvent it or think it up or I wonder if. It's just this one, this one, this one. Pick one. Check with it. And if not, try the other one. End of story.
So the second one is, because we're way behind, we're at 56 right now, so 56 minutes. The second one is technology is not computers and cell phones stuff. That's not technology I'm talking about. Instead, it's meant the standard way of doing it, which was what we were just talking about, or correct skill or craft and knowledge to be used to get the exact result. Right? So you have a specific outcome you want or a specific goal you want. There is a knowledge or a craft or a correct skill that you need. That's the technology I'm talking about.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. So division. This portion of the number 5, which is technical production, right? There's a certain way to do it, and there's a standard. Yeah. And if you understand the standard, then you'll get the same results every time. McDonald's is a huge. Some people call it SOP, standard operating procedures. Some people call them KPIs, which is key point indicators or something like that.
Never heard that one.
Yeah, those are some military terms that get thrown around quite a bit, right? My point is, if you know this, you'll survive. If you don't, you won't survive, at least for your liking, anyways.
Yeah.
So here's the final thought on this. If you were in the woods, right? If you were in the woods and you could have all the knowledge, and you had all the knowledge of the trees, the mushrooms, the leaves, the animals, right? You had all the knowledge of the woods, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you don't have the technology to survive. Right? The knowledge falls to wayside. Right? This is your analysis of paralysis, guys. They want to know all about deal structuring. They want to know all about the sentences, the words. They want to have every answer for the seller so they don't get stumped. That's like knowing about the trees and the mushrooms and the deer and the rabbits and the sun and the moss and all that stuff. But they don't know how to survive. So this is just like our guys that want to know our analysis of paralysis. They want to know about the deal structuring. They want to know about the sentences. They want to know how to answer people. They want to know about foreclosure. They want to know about tax liens. They want to know all this stuff, but they don't know how to talk to a seller.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. So the technology you need is for someone to talk to sellers. That's the production.
Yeah.
Right?
Makes sense.
Number 6, moving on. Quality assurance is almost always overlooked in every group. Here is the only thing I want to say about this. If something is done wrong and the client is delivered a bad product or service or result, someone in number 5, which is the technical production, right, needs to be corrected before they sink the whole ship. So quality assurance is checking to make sure, A, the product or the service is satisfactory and exchangeable, not half done or half broken or missing pieces and parts.
Yeah.
And B, if there are things broken or missing parts, that means somebody in section 5, which is the technical production, needs to be corrected or handled. If you don't do that, you'll sink the ship.
Yeah.
Perfect example of that is you buy a piece of equipment, say a piece of exercise equipment or something, and you get it in the mail and you open the box up and there's bolts missing.
Yeah.
Or instructions missing or something broken. How does that make you feel about that company you just bought that from?
Not buying another thing from them.
Right? And it's a bunch of extra work for you because now you got to go fix it because somebody didn't check the box to make sure all the shit was in there.
Yep.
Okay? This happens with you, your sellers. Realize that we're dealing with the sellers, one of the sellers, probably one of their largest assets, right? I just realized that Matt just said, people rise to their level of incompetence.
Yeah,
true,
that was that Peter principle.
Yeah, that is true, Matt. Right?
Not in our world, though, because we have quality control, right, Bill? Quality assurance. And that's the whole point of it.
And by the way,
that's why the whole book was written, because they didn't do anything about the guy who stunk at his job. They just left him there. Oh, what are we going to do? We'll do something.
Right.
Find somebody, find a who knows how to fix it and fix it.
By the way, in our little RAI reply system, this is the admin secretary. They do both jobs. Not only do they make sure that communication's running around and doing, but they're making sure that it was delivered correctly on time. They're making sure that the documents are correct. The admin person does all of that.
That makes sense for this application. Sure.
Number 7, distribution is always very misunderstood. Here's why. A product or service is only considered valuable if someone wants it, number 1, and is willing to pay for it or give some sort of an exchange. Which is why I always like to start with number 7 in my businesses. Then I like to reverse engineer them over the 6 activities, the other 6 activities that I've just talked about for success. As a marketing guy, as a copywriter, as a whatever, I want to know this first. We call it in the copywriting business, people that vote with their wallet.
Sure.
right? So Dan Kennedy, the God bless his soul, the marketing guru of today's generation, right? Always, always, always preaches when you buy his no BS marketing box, whatever you call it, right? The first thing he says is you write the ad. You write the ad. And I've done this backwards for many years because you usually write the product first, right? Like I say, I'm going to write this book, right?
Oh, okay.
You write the ad first and you test it, just like what we do with houses, right? We don't commit to the house until we know we have a seller. I mean, until we know we have a buyer, and then we go back to the seller and say, okay, we can do the deal.
So you're using the ad to see if it's acceptable, like you're testing it.
Will people want to buy it?
Yeah.
So what you do is you put people, so you write an ad or you write a sales letter and you put people, the first time around, you put people on a waiting list. You give them a discount for waiting. Like, I'm going to sell this for $97, but if you want to get on my waiting list, you can do it now for $29. And I'll deliver it to you like in a month.
Yeah.
If you get a bunch of orders, then you go fulfill that order. Now, here's the magic that Dan Kennedy never talked about. You don't do it. You find who can do it. Right? So we do that. We talked about this in other podcasts. We do that with our clients. We go find who can we talk to that will sell us a house.
Right.
Who can we talk to that will want to buy the house? Now what we're talking about, who can we talk to that can do all these 7 activities? And even though it sounds like it takes more time to explain it sometimes than actually doing it, but the point is that if you think with these 7 buckets, you'll realize that you're covering all aspects of the business. Now, to end off with a punchline, right? The faster you can find who can help you with each of these 6, because you'll do number 1, the thinking, the faster your life will grow and the freer you will be. Which is why I always say your future is your prosperity. And prosperity means your state of success and happiness according to what you think it should be. The tangible, measurable things don't mean anything. The tangible, measurable things don't mean anything if you are trying to figure out how you can achieve these results, which just creates more problems and takes all your free time to live. What you need to do is you need to figure out who can do it. And I just gave you the 7 things for who's. Maybe one who does 3 of them.
Yeah, I was going to ask, for a person starting out, would they have to have all 7, like 7 people to do all this? So how would you get started?
So now I know I've done my good job, because next podcast is going to be, how do you put these together? What do you do first? What do you do second? And I'm going to connect it. So give you a little hint, Peter. I'm going to connect it to the stages of business that I wrote 6 months ago.
Okay.
Right, so there's stages that you'll need a certain who, and there's stages where you'll do these and stages where you'll have somebody else do them.
Cool. And that makes a lot of sense, doing things, not all at once.
That's the organic part of it.
Good. All right.
Cool. So we're 8 minutes over time, which is not unusual for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. I hope it was insightful for you. Please make sure you go leave us a review. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you check the description for your $500 value link for free. And of course, if you have any questions or have any comments or would like to communicate with me, you go to flippinghouses4rookies.com. Upper right-hand corner, it's support tickets. I check them a couple times a day, although sometimes it might take me a day or 2 to get back to you, because sometimes I get a lot of tickets. Okay? That said, the end. Talk to you on episode number 294. Over and out.